Ooh, welcome everybody to WagerTalk Today. I'm Lawrence Presman, and we've got a ton of betting information coming your way. The great Marco D'Angelo joining us right off the bat. He's got two bets for you in college football, one on the Wisconsin Northwestern game and the other on the Kentucky-Florida game. We got Ronald Cabang making an appearance. It's been a while. Ron is a busy dude, and he's going to take apart tonight's NFL football game between the offensive lineless New Orleans Saints and the Denver Broncos. He's also going to look at the Bengals and the Browns, a game I'm curious to hear about. Teddy covers. What is your big game breakdown, brother?
Big game breakdown. We're going to talk a late night bailout special on Saturday. UNLV at Oregon State. Fun one to watch. Probably a fun one to discuss. We'll do that as well. And we'll talk about some of the Saints' injuries. How much are players really worth? Lots to discuss on that in What Bettors Learn.
Before we get into any of that, everybody, we got some breaking news. Teddy Theodore Covers is on a 9-0 baseball run. Firstly, that is freaking good, bro. He has a 5% play up tonight, a 5% baseball play. When was your last 5% baseball play?
I don't know. I know I had a couple over the summer. I know I've won 2 of my last 3 in MLB, and I think I had maybe 4 or 5 over the course of the season. But certainly the first one of the postseason. It's been a good baseball run. You know, we've been running hot in the playoffs, and we're getting lucky. You know, last night we had the over 7.5. Got there, never in doubt. Obviously, the solo shot in the 9th, along with Ohtani's bomb in the 8th, got us the hook that we needed. Nonetheless, we're seeing baseball pretty clearly right now. 5% big ticket winner goes tonight. Game 4, Mets Dodgers. Get it right now. WT.Buzz/TC.
Okay. Marco D, what up, brother? How are you, man?
Doing good. Looking forward to another big weekend of college and pro football. Hockey started. I had my first 2 plays the other night and went 2-0 to start the season. And so looking forward to this is the best time of the year. Every sport's going to be going here in a week or so when the NBA starts.
Well, listen, we'll agree to disagree. I think the best time of the year is when no sports are on, so I can actually breathe and live and not be glued to the television set, stressed out with anxiety, riddled with anxiousness all day and all night, not being able to sleep or eat. That just doesn't sound like the best time of the year to me, Marco.
You're always
Maybe
talking
this isn't the
about
right
your
job
edibles.
for you.
No, we know it's not the right job for me, dude. You and I have spoken about that for 35. I don't have the temperament to be a handicapper. I get too emotional when my clients lose. I'm riddled with guilt. So yes, it is not the right job. But man, if you're Tom Brady, you play quarterback. If you're the Prez, you release plays. I'm in my destiny. There's nothing I can do about it. Check these pants out, though, everybody. Look at these pants.
Let's talk college football.
Look at these pants. Who's going golfing today, everyone? Okay, college football. Wisconsin. They're playing Northwestern. You like the dog. Tell us why.
Yeah, you hear me use the phrase fat and sassy all the time. Well, Wisconsin's got to be pretty fat and sassy right now. The last 2 weeks, they win 52-6 over Purdue, and then last week 42-7 over Rutgers. Now, the Purdue game, all right, Purdue's just pure trash. I know they had a good game last week, a shootout, but they're not a good football team. The Rutgers team does have some talent, and they steamrolled them, but they caught Rutgers at the right time. Rutgers was coming off their first loss of the season, a very physical game with Nebraska, and then come back home and play another physical team in Wisconsin that likes to run the football down your throat, and Rutgers was never in that ball game. Now they take on Northwestern, and I think this line's a little bit inflated because of the recency bias of those 2 blowouts with Wisconsin. But I'm looking at the spot, guys. Wisconsin has on deck at home in their building. They get to play undefeated Penn State. I think this is a look-ahead spot for them. They're going to run the football, want to get in and get out. That's the one thing Northwestern does do well, is stopping the run. This is a team that plays just giving up 2.9 yards per play on the ground. I think that keeps them in this ball game. Give me Northwestern at home, catching a touchdown. I'll do it. Take the home dog, Northwestern.
So I have so many questions to ask you about this one, but let's start with this. You really think that Wisconsin's going to look past Northwestern? Northwestern beat them last year, 24-10. It was an unbelievably disappointing season for the Badgers. It's a loss that they've talked about this week. The two previous meetings, Wisconsin 42-7, Wisconsin 35-7. So it's not like they can't run all over Northwestern if focused. And boy, Northwestern's offense hasn't been really, I know they scored 37 last week. They did it on less than 300 yards. Can Northwestern score against this team? Is Wisconsin going to look past a conference opponent that beat them last year? Those are my two follow-ups, I guess.
Yeah, obviously losing to them last year is going to, have their attention. But still, which is better, Teddy? Getting revenge against Northwestern or having a shot at knocking off an undefeated team next week? Again, I love spots and I look at them and Wisconsin a touchdown favorite on the road. That's just not something that I like to do because they're not a team that's going to light it up generally. They're going to run the football. They're going to keep things as vanilla as they can because if they do have any tricks in that playbook of theirs, they're not showing it this week. Okay. They're saving that for Penn State next week. I just think Northwestern is a live dog. And I think that the Wisconsin win last week, as dominating as it was on the scoreboard, it was a case of catching Rutgers, returning home off of their first loss of the season and being a physical game. And to use the old cliche that I like to use a lot, our good buddy Dave Koken used to say it all the time when I did radio with him, you can lose the same game twice. And I think that's what happened to Rutgers last week. I look for Northwestern to stay with Wisconsin. Live dog, give me the touchdown.
Yeah, when you look up the word cliche, I don't think that one's in there, Marco. Just going out on a limb. Don't think that one's in there. Teddy, did you want to ask one more on this game? You said you had a whole lot of questions. I'm now curious.
No, I gave him a pair of follow-ups. He answered them both.
Okay.
If you'd have been listening to what he was saying, you'd realize that. You'd move on to the next game.
Yeah, I'm done with you. You're like a wife. After a certain amount of time, it just doesn't go in the ears. Anyway. What? Yeah. Well said, Teddy. Well said. Okay, so we got Kentucky. They're -2. They're at Florida. Where are we going in this one, Marco D?
Oh, hopefully to the window and cashing a ticket is where I want to go with this one. And we're looking at Kentucky here. You've got two teams that deserve each other because one week they can be pulling an upset or nearly pulling an upset, and then the next week they can lose as a double-digit favorite. You talk about Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. That's these two teams. But I think Kentucky is the better of the two. And again, we're going to look at spots and look at situations in this game. And I'm looking at Florida. They're coming off a gut-wrenching loss. They were a 14-point underdog. They went to Knoxville, played Tennessee. Big crowd there as always at Tennessee, and they almost pulled off the upset. Now, in that game, not only is it a gut-wrenching loss, you hear me all the time, I don't like taking a team that was a big underdog and just came up short. To me, they come out flat the next game. And I know you said, this is an SEC game. How are they going to conference game? How are they going to be flat? Well, this one's sandwiched in between Tennessee and Georgia. Now, I do realize the Georgia game is not next week. There is a week in between. They have a bye week after this one. But I'm playing the spot here off the gut-wrenching loss. And then not only that, this is a team that lost their starting quarterback in that loss. You had Graham Wirtz go down in that game, and you look at the situation. Normally, I would take the injured player theory. But this isn't a team that's got a backbone, in my opinion. They've underachieved the entire time Billy Napier has been the head coach there. I just don't see them bouncing back here. I think Kentucky is the more consistent team. Yeah, they lost their last game. Losing to a Vanderbilt team is a double-digit favorite. But as we're starting to see, Vanderbilt's not a bad football team. Just ask Alabama about that. I think they get the job done here. I like the better defense. That's Kentucky. Give me Kentucky in a pick-the-winner situation against Florida with the backup quarterback. I'll go there.
So you said you want the better defense. We just saw the Gators hold Tennessee to 17 in regulation. We saw them hold UCF to 13 the game before that. We've seen them now cover 3 point spreads in a row. Is Florida getting better and the markets are a little bit slow to realize it? That's my question.
They're not as bad as they were in week 1 and 2. I agree with you there, Teddy. But also them suffering the third loss last week, to me, we talk about, I like to look at games where, this is not actually the dream crusher because we use that more with undefeated teams or something. But at 3-3, all of your season goals are gone. What is the highlight for them now? We're going to finish the season, maybe a game or two over 500 and go to a shitty bowl. That's my problem. Last week's game, I think, is going to have a lasting effect on them, the old hangover effect, so to speak, this week when they play Kentucky.
Well, let me ask you this, though, because Florida went 5-7 last year. They didn't even go to a bowl game. This wasn't a team that was thinking about SEC championships this year or national playoffs. They were thinking winning record bowl game. You really think that at 3-3, their goals are just trashed right now? Because I don't see that at all.
When you're a program like Florida, granted, they didn't make it to the bowl game last year, and that's why coming into this season, the seat was already hot for Billy Napier, and I think it's going to get hotter as the season progresses. I just don't – when I watch this team, Teddy, I use the phrase they don't have backbone. I have not seen anything from this Florida team that makes me confident in wanting to bet them. And coaching-wise, I'm not a fan of Billy Napier. I think this team is underachieved with the amount of talent they've had since he's been there.
Marco D'Angelo. You know what we call the Dream Crusher, me and my friends? 9-10. 9-10. That we call the Dream Crusher. And I was at Aria once. I got the 9-10, the Dream Crusher, and ended up Jack, Queen, King, hit the flop. Set of queens, set of kings, set of jacks. Crushed them dreams, bitches. Okay. Marco, he's got a 5% play going as well. 13-2 runs since February in these. 5-0 this football season. These are ridiculously good numbers, but what else is new, or manishtana, as they say in my language that I don't speak. You're also on a 7-2 all sports run. You're up 35 units in 23 days. I think I've covered everything except the promo. Give it out, bald man.
All right. Well, you can head over to WagerTalk. If you want to get me for the rest of 2024, you can do so. Just $5.95. And that gets you every play I release in every sport. As I told you, everything's running here in a week. Once NBA starts, we'll have all the sports running. Comes out to less than $7.50 a day. It's the best way to go. You never miss a play. Let's just knock on wood. Let's keep this winning streak rolling. And good luck to Teddy tonight with that 5%.
Well, I haven't looked at the play, but I will. Marco, it's been incredible, man. I mean, we talk about this every time you come on. Congratulations. And really, for the sake of my bank account and yours and Teddy's, keep winning, please. Please, begging. And buy yourself a pair of these pants, baby. Who's going golfing? Okay, get out of here, Marco. Teddy covers. I'm in a good mood today, man. They were running out of golf season. I got one organized today, tomorrow, and Saturday, so I'm triple booked for some golf. You don't play at all, right?
Nope.
Yeah.
The last time I golfed, Prez, true story, I shot a $120. That was on the front 9, and I didn't count my swings and misses.
Wow. Whew, okay, then. Guys, I went
I don't
2-0
know.
last night for my clients in the NHL. I'm up profit this NHL season. I just did the penalty box segment. There's 4 bets for you there. You can find it at WagerTalk.tv on our YouTube channel. And I got to give you guys my promo. And I'm sorry there's so many promos going on, but we're giving out actionable information along the way. I got one of the buy one, get one free promos. And I basically am like, please, please, please get this promo if you want to make some money. October is usually October and November are my 2 best months every year. And NFL and NHL are the 2 sports that I've built my reputation on. It's buy 1 month of my NHL for $179. You get my NFL month for free. So that's an NHL and NFL month of betting for the price of 1 month, $179. No coupon code required. Just go to my page and get it. And come on. Joseph, FB, Titan, B-Dally, Bill, Wodge, Natural. All of you guys, I want to talk to you every day about the bets that we're all placing together. So let's go, boys. Okay, Theodore, I'm calm now. What did bettors learn?
You're never calm, Lawrence. Not
That's
as long as I've known you. That being
Fair
said,
enough.
I want to talk about how much, we always get asked, how much is this player worth? How much is that player worth? It's a question at the beginning of football season. You have all these charts. This guy's worth this and that guy's worth that to the point spread. I want to talk about how to actually use that info, and I'm going to use it to talk about it in reference to the New Orleans Saints, who play tonight at home dogs against the Denver Broncos. Remember the Saints 2-0 start. They still have a plus 20 point differential, even though they're 2-4 now. By far the best for any team that has a losing record. They had those 2 huge blows to open the season. And probably after those 2 blowouts, probably a power rated around the 10th or so in that range after they destroyed the Cowboys. Anywhere 2, 3, 4 points better than the average team. That was then. This is now. First, we had Derek Carr go to Spencer Rattler. And that's what, 2, 3 points at least? A veteran to a rookie making his first start and now his second start. That's worth at least a field goal, in my opinion. Then Taysom Hill, who's a legit playmaker for that team. Then, both starting wide receivers hurt. Chris Olave, Rasheen Shaheed, that's their playmakers. So we have Hill, Olave, Shaheed, all hurt. Then you have a starting offensive lineman get hurt in camp, and then 3 more get hurt already here in the regular season. So you have both your starting wide receivers, your tight end / jackknife player in Hill, your offensive line, and your quarterback are all hurt. If you add them all up, this guy's worth a half point, a point. You're probably not going to get the right amount. All right? You're not. Because we're talking about cluster injuries. When injuries group together, they're worth more. The look-ahead line was Saints minus 2.5. That was bettable last week. Now it's Broncos minus 3. The question that we have, of course, we talked about all these offensive injuries for New Orleans. What about the defense? And Tyrann Mathieu might not play tonight. Last week, the defense gave up 51 points to Tampa. Tampa also threw 3 interceptions in that game, and Baker Mayfield missed a wide-open receiver in the end zone that made me crazy. So they gave up 51 in a game where they got 3 turnovers and their opposing quarterback missed an open receiver in the end zone. So the question we have to ask is, can this defense bounce back? We talk about tonight. So I missed a number on this game. There's no way I bet the Denver minus 3 when I could have had Denver plus 2.5. Can't do it. That being said, we talk about all of these cluster injuries coming together. There's a decent chance the markets haven't moved enough. We've seen a 5.5 point move on this game. And if you're grading player by player and then the group of players together, make a case that it should be 6.5, 7.5, more than the current adjustment. I lean under in this one, but the Saints defense quit last week. That to me is definitely a concern on a short week with a coach on the hot seat moving forward. So if you got the good number with Denver, more power to you. Best of luck tonight. For me, I'll be on the sidelines for this one, and I'm rooting for a tie. I've got both of these teams' season wins under their number, and the tie doesn't help either one of them. Lawrence, back to you, my friend.
Teddy Covers, I'm proud of you, man. You got through that segment with me hacking up a lung right in your face. So good job, dude. This quitting cigarette thing is really taking a toll on me. But I'm doing it still. Gonna get there. I agree with you, Teddy. I'm on the sideline in this game as well, but I do agree that if I had to bet this game, I would bet the under. But alas, I don't have to bet this game, and nor do you. Does Ronald Cabang want to bet this game? Hey, Ron, what's up, brother?
Hey, how's everything going, guys?
Yeah, we could complain, but we're white old men. Nobody cares.
Yeah, I do have a play on this game. I have a play on the side and the total, actually. And Teddy, you covered a lot of what I was going to say about the whole injury aspect of it, the whole clusters and how it's cumulative. I think people are just going to run to the fact that, it's not going to be Carr. They're going to go and say, all right, -3, and that's it. But there's a whole bunch of guys that you mentioned: Carr, No Hill, Olave, Shaheed, Werner, McCoy, Ruiz. That's the O-line too, right there. So it's a lot more than the -3 that most people would have just adjusted for. But the reason why I'm going to talk about the side, not the total, is because I did get a better number on it. So I think that I wanted to kind of talk about the breakdown of why I did it that way. I obviously at -3, the value is sort of gone there, but like you said earlier, I think there's a case that could be made that they didn't shift it enough. I think -3 is still pretty solid. I think if you go past -3, I think you kind of stay away from that. But first off, you talk about the Saints offense, right? You talk about Rattler. He showed some flashes last start, but I think eventually the pressure really got to him. And this defense here, the Broncos defense, they're ranked 3rd in defensive EPA, and they bring a lot of pressure. They're actually 5th highest rate at bringing pressure to the quarterback. And if you know Vance Joseph and his history, he tests young quarterbacks a ton with pressure, and I think that's going to get to Rattler as well. And like I said, I think Denver's defense is legit. People are going to bring up, I think, the absence of Patrick Surtain at the cornerback position, but everyone that we mentioned on the Saints side, that's obviously going to cancel out or whatever you want to call it. But I think Rattler's going to be without his key receivers on his side, his O-line really struggling right now. That pressure is going to get to him. I think he's going to at least throw one interception, in my opinion. If not an interception, we're going to see a ton of 3 and outs or anything like that. But if you flip over to the Saints defense, and that hasn't been pretty all season long. They ranked 25th in net EPA. The defensive unit, like you mentioned, gave up 51. You could say 44 if you remove the defensive touchdown, but they have a lot of holes, and a lot of that is with not being able to stop the run and their coverage in the middle of the field as well. And I think Bo Nix and the Broncos, they'll be able to exploit those areas. And I know Nix hasn't had the greatest season, but I think he's somewhat progressed in the recent weeks, because 4 of his 5 interceptions happened in the first 2 weeks, and all 5 of his touchdowns actually happened in the last 3 weeks. So he's kind of trending in the right direction, and you have that momentum going one way and the opposite for the other team. Those are the types of games that I like to look at. And I know you could say that the Saints defense are kind of opportunistic, right? They can get some takeaways, but at the same time, the Broncos defense in the red zone has been one of the best in the league, only giving up 4 touchdowns, forcing 8 or 9 turnovers in the red zone as well. So even if the Saints are able to get short field, I'm not too sure they're going to get the touchdowns they need to get there. And then obviously I like trends a lot. And one thing that I bring up here historically in Thursday night games, when both teams are coming off a loss, the non-divisional home underdog, which is the Saints, 1-13 straight up, 2-12 against the spread. They failed to cover 7 straight dating back to 2014. So there's a lot of things pointing in the direction of the Denver Broncos, not only the game flow, the stats, the injuries and all that stuff, but the trends as well. It's the Broncos here.
Daddy, I don't hear you.
That's because I hit my mute button, because I had to call Florence.
Oh.
Yeah, so there we go. We're all human, my friend. Ronald, my opinion on this game is basically identical with yours, with the exception that I can't get to the window with Denver. And my concept is the Broncos offensively, this is not a good offensive team. You know, we saw them shut out for 3 quarters last week. We saw them against the Jets in their last road game not move the football at all. They had -7 yards at halftime. Can we really ask Bo Nix to go on the road and win a game by more than a field goal. It's not even like they can win by a field goal here. If you're laying 3, they got to win by 4 or more. Do we trust Denver's offense to actually score 4 points?
I think they can score enough to get there, right? I talked about the potential for turnovers on the Saints side, right? The pressure on Rattler's going to get to him, whether it's fumbles, interceptions, three and outs, or whatever it might be. I think Denver's going to have a lot of time with the ball, time of possession, also a short field in multiple occasions. So I do trust that Denver's defense will put them in good position to score. I even have more trends to kind of back this up here. Last time a Thursday night underdog covered after losing by 23 or more points was 2015. And that's the case that for this Saints team, I think it's just momentum, the injuries, all that stuff is piling up on a short week. It's not a good spot for them to really play their best ball, right? And if you look at just in-season trends, if you don't like long-term trends league-wide, in-season trends, the Broncos are 3-0 ATS on the road, Saints 0-1 as home dogs. So just everything kind of pointing in that direction of playing the Broncos. But like you said too, right? The line has shifted a lot. And at -3, I think this is where we go. I mean, that's probably the highest we go.
Ronald Cabang joining us, everyone. We're going to take apart the Bengals and the Browns in a few minutes. Guys, if you are enjoying the show, please take a second and hit that like button. It's really appreciated. Basically, in a nutshell, it's how we get recommended to new listeners. And, there's so many competitors online doing or attempting to do what we do. And the only way that YouTube can differentiate between us and somebody else is engagement. How many thumbs ups do we have? How many comments do we have during the show and after the show? How many people subscribe to our channel? Those are the things that are super important for building this business. And we're asking you politely to hit that like button. It would be really appreciated. Now, Ronald, let's talk about how ridiculously good you are at handicapping. So, number 1 overall since September 1st. Now, that in and of itself is impressive. However, your win percentage and profit is even more impressive. 65% win percentage, 95 wins, 51 losses, up 77.8. Permission to round up, Ronald Cabang. Permission to round up. 78 units of profit since September 1st. Ronald is the number 1 NFL expert this season. He's currently on a 10-3 run. He's number 1 in 5% plays this entire calendar year, 11-2. And since 2021, he has won 30 and lost 9, 5% ATS wagers. This is incredible stuff, dude. Like, honest to God. Wow. So what do you have to promote? And then we'll talk Cleveland and Cincinnati.
Yeah, you mentioned the NFL numbers, number 1 this season, the 5% numbers as well. But I do have a 5% NFL spread wager. That's the reason why, those streaks came up. But that's available this weekend. I've hit, I think I hit the last 2 that I gave for the NFL. I missed one. The one that I lost was actually by the hook. So, and it was a bad number that I took, but it ended up covering the closing number. But everything's been going really well with the NFL. I mean, if you look at just, I know you guys mess with like the Circa and all that stuff. The last 3 weeks in Circa, the team that I'm on, I think we have 1 loss. I think we're like 14-1 or something in the last 3 weeks. So we're in the money for the quarter play. So hopefully we get that. But yeah, everything's going well in the NFL. Obviously, WNBA has been my thing, and NBA is coming up too. I already have 3 plays for the opening games for the NBA. So a lot of things in this period, in this season, I'm really excited for.
Well, listen, congratulations. Okay, so you want to talk Bengals and Browns, and I don't want to steal your thunder, but I want to read some stuff to you about how bad this Cleveland Browns offense is, because this Cleveland Brown offense is historically bad. It's not bad this season. So to give you guys perspective, 51% of Cleveland's possessions have ended in punts. That's insane. They have averaged 19 and a half yards per possession this year. Since the year 2000, there have been 798 teams. They are 784 out of 798 in the last 24 years on entering the red zone. This Cleveland offense has been in the red zone 9 times in 6 games. Their third down conversion, there's only been one team since 2000 that has a worse third down conversion ratio than them. And at one time in the Philadelphia Eagles game, they had converted 1 third down out of 27 tries. They are getting sacked Deshaun at a historical rate. This is the worst offense we've seen since Jamarcus Russell was in the league. Please tell me you are not betting on them this Sunday.
It's funny because I had the Browns last week and they did cover. So you got to pick your spots with these ugly teams. But I think one thing I do want to mention with teams like this, or in teams in specifically, but both the Browns and the Bengals were a client play last week and they both won. And I think if you have good reads on specific teams, I think you kind of continue to bet those teams, right? I think that's something that we can all agree on as handicappers is when you have those good reads, continue doing that, whether it's an ugly team or a good looking team. That's how you make profit in this game. But yeah, last week I did back the Browns. It was really to a fade spot of the Eagles. But this week the Browns are in a bad spot. And obviously you talked about all their bad offensive numbers. They're on a four game losing streak, right? They're 1-5 on the season. Watson has looked like one of the worst investments in recent sports history in the NFL. And obviously, with the offense struggling, they went and traded Amari Cooper for some picks, and that tells me maybe they're not really focused on winning this season, right? I think they're going to look towards the future. We'll see what happens with Nick Chubb if he returns today, or if they eventually trade him, or whatever it might be. But if you look on the Bengals side, I know they're 2-4, but I think they're a lot better than what their record suggests. The Bengals have lost 4 games by a combined 12 points, and that includes games against the Chiefs and the Ravens. So they're able to stick with these higher level teams. But if you look at Burrow specifically, right, he's been playing really well. 12 touchdowns, only 2 interceptions on the season. He showed his legs last week with a long touchdown against the Giants. Obviously, overall, he didn't look great against the Giants, but I think the reason why they didn't look that great was potentially in my head they were maybe focused on a divisional game, which is this week here. And then Cleveland's defense, to me, it's pretty decent, right? Overall, I don't think they're the best, the normal Browns defense that we're used to, but I think it's going to be. I don't think it's going to be enough to slow down Burrow. The run defense, obviously, they held Barkley in check, but the Bengals' rush attack, I don't think they're really going to need it because Burrow has the weapons that he needs to get through to get to his targets through the air, and I think that's what the majority of their success is going to come from, is from the pass. And I think the Bengals defense, I know they're not great either, but the Browns just don't have enough weapons. We talked about trading Amari Cooper, Watson already struggling. The O-line hasn't been anything to help Watson either. And even with them getting healthier last week, they still struggled. And from a trend perspective, since 2017, heavy divisional home dogs. And this is, 5. When I looked at this yesterday, when I was capping this game, it was up to 6.5. It's come down to like 5.5 at some books, or even 6 now. But home dogs of 6 or more points coming off a road loss are 1-21 straight up, 4-16-2 against the spread against teams coming off a win. I think it's just kind of going in different directions. I'll talk about momentum, injuries, and all that stuff too earlier. That kind of comes into this play. It goes all the way down to like home dogs of 4 or more points, and you're still hitting at a 60% fade rate or whatever it might be. But yeah, I think these teams, they like Cleveland in this situation, they just don't cover, right? I think this organization is lost right now. You factor in the trends, the momentum going in different directions. Burrow coming off a game where he hasn't thrown a touchdown, he typically bounces back. 7-2 ATS has good games after that. In season trends, Bengals 3-0 ATS on the road this season. Broncos 0-2. Browns 0-2 at home, stayed under their team total in all 6 games, further, supporting the struggles on the offensive side of the ball. So a lot of things pointing towards the Bengals side here.
So Cincinnati scored 2 touchdowns last week. One of them came on a 3rd and 18 scramble. The other one came when they were trying to run out the clock and the running back forgot to slide down at the 1-yard line and knee out the rest of the way. The offense didn't work. Prior to that, the defense didn't work for multiple games, when they played any decent offense. Cleveland, for all of their offensive struggles, their defense has kept them in 4 of the 6 games. They've had 3 losses by less than a touchdown. They've been competitive in defeat despite those historically bad offensive numbers. Mm-hmm. Do you worry at all that you're laying points here with maybe the weaker of the 2 defenses, with a team that doesn't really click offensively right now? Or is this just, let's just keep fading the Browns until the markets tell us until they prove us otherwise?
I think it's a combination of that, right? I think maybe the Browns, obviously they covered last week. Maybe people are thinking they're going in the right direction while the opposite happened, right? Maybe the people are thinking Bengals got lucky last week. Well, I think it's the opposite. I think they did enough to get the win against a team they knew they could win, and they want this more important divisional game coming in this week and next week as well. So, I mean, there's a lot of things to think about. I think the Bengals offense is clicking. Obviously, 12 touchdowns, 2 interceptions for Burrow. I think he's doing a phenomenal job. Obviously, he didn't look great last week, but like I said, I think it comes to how you strategically go through the NFL season and place yourselves in position for the playoffs. If you know you're that good of a team. I mean, obviously, I don't know how far the Bengals are going to go, but when you go and look at how important divisional games are compared to non-divisional games, I think that kind of comes into play here and how they played last week. Oh, you're on mute now, Prez.
Yeah, Lawrence. We're all muting.
I'm on mute now, huh? Okay. Ronald, outstanding, man. Thanks for joining us, brother. Good luck. Keep winning. Unbelievable stuff. Anything else really quick before we let you go?
I forgot to tell you guys that they do have a rest of NFL season promo or deal ready for me over at WagerTalk. I think it's $100 off the normal price, so I think it's $349. But also, I mean, you said how great the run is I'm getting with the NBA coming up, NFL. I mean, the full WNBA season next season as well. They have that promo going for getting the full season, full year of 2025, and get the rest of 2024 free. That covers all the major sports that I'm profitable in for the last 4 years I've been with WagerTalk. So if you guys want to do that long-term deal and commit to consistency, I think that's the way to go.
There we go, Ronald Cabang. Teddy, if my last name was Chubb and I was on the Cleveland Browns, I'd figure out a way to stumble and hurt my toe or something. I ain't wasting my best years on that piece of shit. Anyway, yes, I'm angry about Cleveland. Been angry since they decided to give Deshaun Watson a contract. So, it's time for your big game breakdown, brother. I can't wait to hear it. Let's go.
UNLV -7, total 61.5 at Oregon State. This is your late night bailout special on national TV Saturday night, 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. here on the left coast. Before I break it down, I do want to let you know I do have a 5% big ticket in MLB tonight on Thursday. 9-0 playoff run, 82% run since the start of the postseason. We're seeing it clearly. Get on board right now, WT.buzz/TC with that 5% big ticket in MLB. When we talk about Barry Odom's Rebels, all right, I said before the season, this is the best UNLV team I've seen in my 27 years in Las Vegas, and it's not that close. Now we're halfway through the season, and I stand by that statement. They're still potentially a contender for the playoffs. They lost their quarterback to the NIL deal. And the backup, Haj Malik Williams, has come in and been every bit as good, maybe better. 77% completions. He's averaging more than 10 yards per pass attempt, a 9-to-1 touchdown interception ratio. Their top 6 running backs all averaging at least 5 yards per carry. Ricky White, a legit playmaker at wide receiver. This is an offense that scored 40-plus 4 times in the last 5 games. The only exception came at Kansas. But after the 4-0 straight up ATS start, we're seeing point spreads that are a little bit inflated. They were laying a 6.5 to Syracuse. That was too much. They were laying 19 to Utah State. They're up 41 to 7 at the half. That was too much too. The price is no longer right for UNLV. They are not an undervalued commodity at this stage. Before I talk about Oregon State, I do want to say, if you like this, give us a like. If you haven't followed the WagerTalk YouTube channel yet, give us a follow. There's more than 175,000 of you who have followed this channel already. And of course, comment below. We appreciate your opinions and your takes on these games. Thank you. Oregon State, they got blown out by Oregon, then they beat up on Purdue. And they basically played like they were supposed to in both those games. They're not as good as Oregon. They're a good notch or two better than the Boilermakers. The last 2 weeks, they faced Mountain West competition. They beat Colorado State in double overtime, and they lost to Nevada in Reno last week. They really played a poor game. They threw 4 interceptions. They gave up 353 yards on the ground. And when you give up 353 yards on the ground and throw 4 picks, you aren't going to win a whole lot of road games. That being said, they're back at Reser Stadium this week, and they're playing equal to, I say, the middle of the pack Mountain West composition. UNLV deserves to be chalk here, but it's hard for me to ask them to win by more than a touchdown. I think the play here is total, not side. Oregon State's been really good in terms of offensive balance. All right. They had 12 successful third down conversions at Nevada, 75%. For this season, they're 50 for 90 on third downs, 56%. What does that tell you? It tells you the running game's working. It tells you they're in third and short a fair bit. UNLV, I like this defense, no question. But when we're talking about the Rebels defense, we've seen cracks in recent weeks. We really have. Oregon State, 4-0 to the over last 4. Rebels, 4-1 to the over last 5. Beavers are lead at third down conversions. Rebels can score with anyone. Expect fireworks on Saturday night. I like this game up and over the total. What do you think? Let us know below. Thanks. Back to you, Mr. Prez.
My brother Rakash P., one of our listeners, he likes over the total UNLV team total. Any thoughts there?
No argument. Look, UNLV, that offense can score with anyone. I have no argument with it. No issue whatsoever with that wager.
Okay. Brother, let me do the presidential address and then we'll call it a show. Daniel, cue it up. Okay, guys, it's time for your daily presidential address. I'm Lawrence Presman, and we're going to take apart the Carolina Panthers and Washington Commanders game. Before we get into that, I want to again insist that you guys join me for a month of NFL and NHL. The promo we have going is buy 1 month of either of those sports, get the other month free. It's $179. We will bet together in both those sports for 1 full month, $179. You get my NHL and NFL plays. And my NFL card this week is very rare. I have 3 side bets going this week. I normally only have 1, 2 at the most. I don't even remember the last time I had 3. And I also have a really great total for you guys as well. Okay, so let's get into this. Carolina and Washington. I'm going with over the total, guys, 51.5. And we played the over in the Washington game last week. And yeah, one could argue we got lucky, but it cashed, and we're coming right back with it. Now, I know this is a big total, but as we've discussed at least 1,742 times, take the highest totals over and the lowest totals under. Last week, we went over in the Baltimore game. In the Washington game, we went over in the Detroit and Dallas game. 2 of the top highest totals, both ended up cashing. Now, Washington just put up 23 on Baltimore, but before that, this Washington Redskins, this Washington Commanders team scored 34 on the Browns, 42 on Arizona, and 38 on Cincinnati. Now they're playing potentially the worst defensive unit in all of football. I think they put up 34 minimum on Carolina. This Panthers defense in their last 3 games have allowed 38, 36, and 34 points. The only question that we got to ask ourselves here is, how many points will the Panthers give us? We just saw them put up 20 on the Falcons. They had a terrible game against the Bears where they put up 10. They put 24 up on Cincinnati and 36 up on Vegas. We will need 20 points from the Panthers for this game to go over the total, and I think that's completely doable. Although this Washington D did great against Cleveland, big whoop, everyone does. I mean, everyone plays great against Cleveland. And they did great against Arizona. This Arizona team's incredibly inconsistent. I think this Washington defense is less than mediocre. I think they're a bottom 10 D unit. And I think the Panthers with Andy Dalton behind center are going to put up some points. This game to me is 34-24 written all over it. That's 58 points. I do want to bet the side here, but Washington has not earned the right for me to bet to take them giving more than a TD. And the hell I'm betting the Panthers. They're 1-5 ATS on the season. We're going with over the total in Carolina and Washington. Be well, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow on Friday's Wager Talk Today show. Teddy, take us home.
Enjoy the games. Best of luck. And like Lauren said, we'll see y'all tomorrow with another edition of Wager Talk Today.